Hello there, everyone, and this is a Parks and Bennis podcast milestone as we reach episode 10. It feels like forever we've been doing these now, just talking about football from the end of last season. We decided to do a post-lockdown that once we came back, we'd start talking about football, and then we're now on episode 10. Pretty mad, but thanks for everyone who watches, who retweets when I put it out, who likes or who just generally positive about it. And yeah, so thanks. So I thought I'd better start off by saying thanks, because if I say it's episode 10 and we're like, yeah, well, thanks, but you're watching anyway, it doesn't really go down well, does it? But thank you, and it is episode 10 of the Parks and Bennis podcast. And tonight I'm only joined by Aaron, which no one wanted to come on with us tonight, so that's pretty unfortunate. But
very disappointing.
The people who know they are, they know who they are. So book your ideas up, pals. But I am joined by Aaron tonight. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, doing well. Good to be back.
Yeah, good to be back. I mean, the last time we came on was last week with Sam. We were just talking. We were ranking the managers, weren't we? And we're gonna start tonight off by being hipster football Twitter managers ourselves and saying who our ideologies are based upon. I mean, this isn't my idea. This is a football Twitter thread that people posted yesterday, and I thought it would be a good way to start the podcast talking about different influences. And yeah, well, everyone's is very different. If you look at the thread, I think I retweeted it yesterday. If you look at it, I think many people's opinions are very different. There were some people who had like Arsene Wenger and Tony Pulis in the same thread. I mean, how could you possibly have the same sort of ideas from them two? I mean, they're completely different, but anyway, we thought we would start off with that. So before we go into like specific managers about who we shaped our the way we view football, Aaron, as a Watford fan, if you had, I'll shape it this way: if you had the perfect Watford if you were the Watford manager, what type of football? Well, not even type. Well, what type of manager would you be? Is what I'm trying to essentially say.
From what I've seen so far, it's probably quite similar to I can't remember Vladimir Ivic, because he's kept us very sound defensively, but you can see what we're looking to do going forward, and that's the sort of thing that I'm pretty sound with, to be honest. Having a solid base, but not like a Sam Allardyce just hump it upfield. There's actual build-up play in when they go forward.
Right. Okay. Well, that's very interesting, because I've only seen one Watford game this season, and that's the Middlesbrough game, the first game on Sky. Because I don't think Watford have been on Sky since, and let's be honest, I'm not paying attention to watch a Championship game. So I'll watch the ones that are on. And yeah, first half, I thought in that game you played some really decent football. I thought you kept the ball well, you moved through the lines quite well, and you created opportunities. Second half, I think you had one shot from a free kick in the last minute, which tells you what type of performance that was. But I think what I like talking about Vladimir Ivic so far, I think he's come into Watford and he could have come in and just said, we're going to play an expansive style and we're not going to try and care about points early on. But you said yourself, you expected Watford to have a slow start, but I think he's looked and think, let's get some points and evolve, rather than come in and say, we're playing X way, like Frank de Boer did at Palace, we're playing X way, and I'll be sacked after 7 weeks or whatever it was, and we won't get a point. I think Ivic is trying to evolve at Watford, and be interesting to see how he gets on. But before I go into specific names, I put it out on Twitter, so people read it. There will be no surprise. But I think what I like to see is mostly organisation. If that is Pep Guardiola, that's organisation, because he drills his team into what he wants to do. If that's Sam Allardyce, he drills his teams into what he wants to do. I have no issue with any type of football, as so long as it's within a structure, it's organised, and there's kind of a plan with it. I think if it's Ian Holloway at Blackpool, there was no plan. It was just run down the flanks and get the ball in the box, just playing mad attacking football. And
yeah, there's different ways of being organised. As long as there's a solid base, that can probably count as organised. But it's pretty much about what happens after that defines each manager. For example, Sean Dyche he keeps his sides organised. We all know it's not pretty, but he keeps his sides organised. Recently, Mikel Arteta, again, he keeps his sides organised, but I've seen criticism of it, but it's not like purely defensive football and then hoop up field. Like I said, there's build up play, and it's decent enough to watch. So yeah, there's different types of being organised, and as long as there is, the chances are if you're organised, then you will get points.
Yeah, I even look at someone like when he first came into Tottenham. I think that by the end of his time with Tottenham, but Pochettino, people will be surprised to hear this because I think it was before we started speaking. But for a good year, when he was 2 years at Tottenham, I would say Pochettino was my favourite manager ever. Because what I liked about his teams was he pressed really hard and then he had a good defensive shape about him. So it was the 15-16 season when he finished second. I thought they were probably the most well-drilled team around at that point because he just knew how they were going to play. And then they had build-up play and they were good to watch. So I really liked Pochettino's Tottenham early on. By the time his last season came, I gave him stick because they were woeful. But at first, I was really pleased with what he was doing. I do like Pochettino. It just pains me when people say he's like the best manager of all time and everything. They don't. He's a brilliant manager. Yeah, he hasn't won anything. So it does kind of annoy me. But I said we'd pick 4 managers. People know, man. Have you got any names who your football ideologies are based off?
Yeah, I haven't. I'll admit I haven't thought about this deeply, but there's 4 managers that stick out. You got. I'm sticking with Watford for a bit. Javi Gracia. I loved watching us under Gracia for the most part. Jurgen Klopp. Again, I really like his sides. Again, they're well drilled, but they play good stuff, and obviously they're extremely successful based on the last few years. Chris Wilder is another. I know it's not gone as I know it hasn't really gone to plan this season so far, but again, organised, good build-up play. It's pretty entertaining to watch. And I'm not going to go with Graham Potter.
I was expecting Graham Potter to
I'm
be.
not going with Graham Potter. I'm going with Ralph Hasenhüttl for my last spot. Again, I've spoken many times about my love for Ralph Hasenhüttl. So those are my 4 managers.
Yeah, we share that.
Yeah,
we share a love. I can't love Klopp, but we share a great respect for 3 of them. I think Graham Potter, Javi Gracia. I'm a big fan of Javi Gracia. I think he did a great job at Watford. I think he's a good manager. He plays 4-4-2 as well, which is quite like. So I never know why he switched to 3 at the back in his last 3 weeks. The Watford baffled me. But anyway, he's one I really like. Chris Wilder, I'm a big fan of. So I'm not a fan of him saying he has the toughest job in the league. He just clearly doesn't. He spends 50 million.
Yeah.
But I really like Chris Wilder. And Ralph Hasenhüttl again. I don't know what he was doing playing 3 at the back when he first came in there, but since he went to 4-4-2, I'll call it that. They've been excellent. So I really like 3 of them. I do admit Klopp's a brilliant manager, but I can't really like him, can I? He's
Fair enough. Yeah.
Kind of exclusive to the agenda, but a different agenda. It's like a forced upon agenda rather than anything I can choose. So I did really like him at Dortmund, but I can't like him anymore. But as for mine, the old men from the pub shelf, one would be the first one would be Diego Simeone. I think over the years I've just grown in love with his teams because before he went into Atletico, they were a bit like Sevilla. Actually, they were a bit worse than Sevilla, but they were just a bang average Spanish team that no one really cares about. The likes of Quique Flores was getting the job there and all kinds of nonsense managers, and then he's the definition of the club and identity because he played the same way for about 10 years. His team, he works so hard off the ball, on the ball. He's so passionate about the game. People talk about Bielsa being an influence on people. Wait until you hear people talk about Simeone. He really has influenced some managers. Maybe he's been influenced himself, I'm not sure. But I think the new Red manager, you all know him better than I do.
Pavlovic was his first name. That Veljko Pavlovic, whatever it is.
Yeah, so he's talked about his influence being Diego Simeone. So he influenced managers in the game. I just think he's a fantastic manager. I wish someone in the Premier League would give him a chance because I think his passion's infectious.
I think certainly a couple of years ago, people didn't quite realise what his style was, because I remember him being into like the Chelsea job, and people saying, "Oh, he's gonna play this beautiful, attractive style of football."
No, no, but he doesn't really need to because he's a winner, and
I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, he plays 4-4-2, and people. I remember speaking to Liverpool fans after they beat them, and they went, "Oh, they're just a rich club, Burnley," and then, well, yeah, in a way, but it's all about level. So, are you going to say Fulham are a basic Man City? You wouldn't say that, would you?
I think so. No.
So it's levels of success. So I don't know. I think he's a great manager, and I think he certainly inspires me. But on the touchline, I think one day, I think the way things are going with Carlo is so successful. If he puts us up to that pedestal, I think Diego Simeone could potentially be a future Everton manager if we get our name in the conversation of success. So I think I think the Everton fans would really like him. Not necessarily the style, but the sort of us v them mentality. But anyway, I think he's a great manager, Simeone. My second one would be Antonio Conte. I think Conte ball in 16-17. That was when they won the league, wasn't it?
16-17 it was, yeah.
Absolutely fantastic football to watch. It went back from back to front so quickly, yet it was so entertaining, and it was just Hazard and Kante and Willian Costa. It was just a mix between nasty, horrible football, but just you couldn't keep your eyes off it, and they were so well drilled, and I'm yet to see a team who have impressed me as consistently as they did. I thought they were fantastic. So he's had a big influence on me since then.
He got Marcus Alonso and Victor Moses smashing as wing backs.
He loves buying Yadar players as well. He just is. You're like, why on earth would you want to sign Danny Drinkwater? All right, it didn't work for him, but he makes signings like that work. When he played Victor Moses at first, everyone was laughing at him, but he made it work, and that's what I really like about him. I think he makes things work, and he's not great in Europe, I've got to admit, but I think if you mesh Conte and Simeone together, you've got the perfect manager. Simeone's brilliant in Europe. Okay, he hasn't won the European trophy, but he always gets the finals and that. And then Conte wins the league. So if you mesh them together, you've got the perfect manager. But yeah, Antonio Conte would be another one for me. The third one would be probably a bit unknown to some people, but he's not unknown to me and you, and that's Jose Bordalas. I think he's a mini Simeone in a way, and I think his teams are probably more even rugged than Simeone's teams. That, in a way, I don't want to put people off him by saying this, but in a way, the way he plays football is quite similar to Warnock in terms of it's just so kick and rush. But I think what makes him better than Warnock is there's better defensive structure. I think Warnock marked across the pitch. I think Bordalas is 4-4-2 in the structure, but they press so hard and get the ball in the box to complete and also kick and rush, and I think they're really fun to watch. I think I was speaking to someone the other week on Twitter about Bordalas, and he said they're so fun to watch, but they shouldn't be fun to watch because it's just so it's organised chaos, and he's someone else I'd love to see in the Premier League. I think he's been linked with Watford in the past, hasn't he?
Yeah, when Javi Gracia was first was rumoured he was first going to be sacked, one of the managers we were linked with heard it Bordalas. I remember not being a fan, not because I didn't know who he was, but because I'd heard that he was too similar to Quique Sanchez Flores.
We got him anyway.
We got Quique Sanchez Flores, so we don't know what happened there. But yeah, no, I watched Getafe the other day because they've got Cucho Hernandez on loan, so I was curious to see how he's getting on. And honestly, I was impressed by that. They won, I can't remember the score, it was like 3-4-0. But I was really impressed with them.
Betis, didn't he?
What's that?
Was it the 3-0 v Betis?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, it wasn't like, I didn't feel like it was completely like a boring kick and rush. I actually quite enjoyed it.
No, there's a method to what they do. I think I'm going to recommend the Tifo football video, Getafe, more than looking tactical fouls, because, okay, they do see a lot of fouls, and there's no look to what they do because they always sort of orchestrate man advantages all over the pitch. So when they press, they're always going to win the ball back. And if the team kicks the ball long, they've got two centre-halves who are brilliant in the air. They don't win many aerial battles, but they make sure that they always win the ball back. And I just think if you're getting a team into the Europa League, I don't care what division you're in, with Alan Neon on the right wing, who was a limited left back at West Brom, then I'm sorry, you're doing something right, because that is beyond. That's beyond mad.
I've got both excellent and horrific memories of Alan Nyon.
Yeah, well, could you imagine him on the right midfield for a 38-game season, just playing there every week?
I watched him right back, and that was tragic, let alone the right wing.
Yeah, well, he's playing right wing at the moment, and it's working for them, so you can't say. And then my spirit animal, Mark Cucurella, is a fantastic footballer. I called him the Paella McNeil the other day, but I think he's better. He's just so good at football. He runs with the ball, crosses the ball. I think they've got Ankel. To be honest, what Spain should do is just get the whole Getafe squad in and just bin it off to Sergio Ramos's and just put all these mad names in, so that if you supported Getafe, you would love Getafe. But if you played against them, you would hate them because they are so horrible to play against them.
That sounds very much like a Burnley.
Yeah, but I was speaking to someone that they're a bit different to Burnley because they press higher, they kick more, and they're more direct. I may as well say now my fourth on Sean Dyche, because of the influence this man has on my life in the past 5 years is mad. I think when I was first watching it, it started off as a bit of a joke, because I remember someone putting something about Eddie Howe, and I weren't really convinced by Eddie Howe. It wasn't really anything to do with Sean Dyche. It was that season when Burnley finished 7th, and they were 7th by about. We finished 8th, I think, but the Burnley were 7th all season. And then I think Bournemouth finished. Did they finish 14th or something last season?
Last season?
No, it was the season when Burnley finished 7th.
Yeah, they finished like mid-table.
Yeah, they didn't pull up any trees anyway. So, it was a job coming up when it was the Everton job, and then someone said Eddie Howe should get the Everton job. I said, well, why should Eddie Howe get the Everton job over Sean Dyche if you're going down the British manager route? And he said, because Burnley played boring football. When, hang on a minute, the Burnley Football Club are about to play. All right, they were playing Aberdeen, so it doesn't really count in Europe, but they were in the Europa League. That's more than Eddie Howe's ever done, and that's more than Eddie Howe ever did. So it started off with that, and then the more I watched Burnley, the more I was really impressed with how organised they were. I think, obviously, I've been a big critic of their transfer policy this window, of not buying anyone. But that's down to finances. But if you look before that, they've made really smart buys, and I think Dyche really doesn't get the credit he deserves, and fans outside the top 6 are doing the job he's done, and I think people won't like him, but people love him. He's that type of man.
I do think Sean Dyche has got more praise recently. More people are starting to take notice, but yeah, I think generally across his entire spell at Burnley, probably doesn't get enough praise.
No, I think especially with the spend, I think people take it for advantage, that Burnley are going to be all right, but it is Burnley at the end of the day. They were a championship club for the majority of their history, I think, until Sean Dyche came in. So he's done a wonderful job. He finished 10th last season. He finished 7th before the second season when they came back up after they went down. They actually had a worse squad then when they came up originally. They didn't have Danny Ings and that. They had 100 Gray up front. So
Sean Dyche got the best out of Andre Gray.
Yeah. No, I don't think I think Dyche and Gracia probably got the most out of him, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, for us under Silva, put it this way, Silva used him as a lone striker for some reason, even though clearly wasn't working.
Not surprised by that.
Last season he barely played because Deeney was kind of half-arsing the whole time, but he still managed to get in. So yeah, the only one that really got the best out of him was Javi Gracia, and that's because, shockingly, he played him with a strike partner and played balls in behind for him to run onto.
I tell you what, someone reinvented the wheel there, didn't he? a striker who likes to play on the shoulder, play balls through to mad. I bet Silva played balls that went over his head and everything. He could not get in the game whatsoever.
Yeah, every time Pretty much. While Troy Deeney is at this football club and starting every week, no matter who is up front, we will just hurl long balls at them.
Yeah,
That's why Grace failed apart from that one season. It's a shame because I really like him personally. I know Watford fans don't, but I really like him.
I'm not a big fan of him for some of the stuff in the past he's gone on about. But I do think as a player, I think he's not perfect. But I think if he went to West Brom could have done worse than that have Andre Gray. I think he's that type of striker that will score like, I don't know, 5 and 7, and you won't see him again for the rest of the season. He's that type of player, but I think he can be effective. Did Pearson play much?
Not to my memory, no. To be honest, Pearson pretty much just stuck with Deeney no matter what, and that's why we're getting so annoyed.
No, but that's why. Which I find mad because I thought Pearson might have played them together.
No, we played 4-2-3-1 every single game. I don't remember a game we didn't play under Pearson.
And I'm sure he played 4-4-2 at Leicester.
I think he did, yeah.
With Vardy and even Navas, it was Ujoa. So he played 4-4-2 at Leicester, so I don't know why he didn't play 4-4-2 at... Oh, no, that's right, because in the Championship, when he played 4-4-2 at Leicester, he had Chris Wood and Jamie Vardy. Name me a better strike partnership than that.
Actually, I think early on they were playing David Nugent. I can't remember who it was.
That's right, yeah. Well, we've gone off on a bit of a tangent there, talking about Andre Gray and whatever, but yeah, Sean Dyche should be my fourth. So Simeone, Conte, Dyche and Bordalas will be my fourth. I think honourable mentions for obviously Christian Streich, who I've only really got to know in the past 6 months or so I can't really say he's been much of an influence. But I do really like him. I would especially like the way he sells his whole squad in the summer and then somehow looks stronger coming out of it. Madness. Roy Hodgson would be another one, but he doesn't quite make it over Antonio Conte. Over between them two, I think Conte has had more influence because of the Chelsea team, which was before his Palace team, because he was in England for a while. And as you know, I don't watch England, so I couldn't really say he had much of an influence. And then the only other one who's had much of an influence with them would be Carlo Ancelotti. And then I was thinking he's only been at Everton a couple of months, and before that, I didn't really watch many of his teams because they were like Napoli, and I take objection to watching Napoli. Don't know why. I just never think to watch Napoli versus the Solo or whatever. Never really my thing watching Napoli. And then his other teams, I take exception to watching big teams all the time. So he's always been someone that's gone under the radar, but long live Carlo Fantastico. But we'll move on now to something that really got on my nerves this week. Well, today and yesterday. I'm sure it's gone on your nerves too. Is the Premier League have announced that they're going to be charging £15 to watch a single game, which is madness. Aaron, give me your thoughts on that. £15 to watch a single Premier League game.
If I'm being honest, I haven't really kept up much with it because I don't watch. I mean, firstly, I normally just watch streams nowadays, so I don't pay for football.
Legal streams.
Yeah, and I fully expect that to continue for almost everyone. Because £15 is just quite frankly ridiculous for a game of football. I'm paying. I occasionally pay £10 to watch Watford play on the club website that they've got. They've got like a thing on the club website that.
But does that go straight to Watford?
Yeah. It's all for the club, and 10 quid is reasonable. If it was 10 quid for each game, I think that's fine. But £15 is just too much.
Yeah, and another thing with the Championship as well, I think, because I know something with Cardiff, if you paid £10, it went straight to Cardiff. And if it was, like I was saying, if they said it's on the club website and you paid it and it's going straight to Everton, I think people will go, we don't want to pay, but we know it's going straight to Everton. I think the fact that it's going to Sky in the Premier League, to no doubt just go to top 6 teams, I think it's just having us all off again. I think I won't be paying £15 to watch any game because I just think it's unreasonable as a rule. But they put the West Brom and Burnley on the Sky box office. Now, I probably will watch that, but I'm not going to pay £15 for it, so I'll be looking for a perfectly legal stream to watch that game.
Yeah, realistically, who cares that much for 15 quid to watch West Brom against Burnley?
Even I said the other week when Everton played West Ham in the Carabao Cup, it was a tenner. I mean, I did pay the tenner to watch it. I mean, I was desperate. I didn't think there was any stream, so I did pay the tenner to watch it.
Yeah, I was able to watch it.
You found the stream though. I didn't. But yeah, so it was £10. Begrudgingly, I paid it because I didn't think there would be a stream. Now I know the streams for these things, even that you had to pay for. I don't think I'll be paying again. But so I put on Twitter. There's absolutely no way on earth David Moyes paid the tenner to watch Everton v West Ham on Wednesday night in the Carabao Cup. He just hasn't. He's watching bloody Neighbours or something. So if we're thinking of our own clubs, we're not going to pay that. Does Sky really think the average Arsenal fan's paying £15 to watch West Brom and Burnley on the Monday night? It's not happening.
It's ridiculous. And I read, I think it was Leicester was the only club to vote against it. And fair play to them, because if you ask me, this entire time it's just shown that the Premier League clubs and Sky and BT, all they care about is money.
Yeah, it started off as it is the people's game as such, so it is for the people, the ordinary man, to watch the game, and they're being priced out of it by the likes of Sky and BT and the Premier League. And it's ridiculous. Well done to Leicester for standing up against this absolute madness. And I'm speaking to all the Premier League clubs, especially Everton. Shame on you, Everton, for not thinking, you know what, our fans aren't enough. It just completely alienates our fan base and most fan bases across the country, who, as a rule, will not pay this money. I think a great idea that I've seen come out the last couple of days, and I want to hear your thoughts on it, that there should be like a Netflix-style subscription service that says £20 a month, you have access to every Premier League game, and then there might be a weekly show or whatever, so everyone will buy that. You'll probably make more money through doing that than this nonsense on.
It makes so much sense to have something like that. I think it's called Premflix, and I watched a Tifo video on it a while ago.
Yeah.
It makes so much sense to have it all in one place for a reasonable price, and it just makes it easier for everyone to watch the Premier League game when they want to.
Yeah, and another thing, you'll get more revenue through doing that, because I think everyone will be pretty happy paying a reasonable fee to watch all the Premier League games than these one-off sort of arbitrary figures that come out of nowhere to watch a single game, which puts people off.
Exactly. No one has a problem with paying money as long as the price is reasonable, and as long as it's going to something that they're willing to pay for. You got what I mean? Like for the Premier League clubs.
And that's something else that I wanted to bring up. That nonsense pundit who's on Sky, Eni Aluko. Fans just want something for nothing when watching a game. Hang on a minute, £15 not something for nothing, is it? It's just, she done my head in today. And there was absolutely nothing about football as it is. And then she pipes up with that. Honestly, madness. I even like Gary Neville. He's spoken out against it because you know it's wrong ultimately. And I think there'll have to be a time to come. There'll have to be a time where we sort of have to shift the thinking of the way we see football in this country, because if you're like a match going fan, so if you have a season ticket, you subscribe to Sky, BT, Amazon, okay, BBC, okay, that's free, but you've got that, and then on top of that, you pay your season ticket, you pay for Sky and all that, and then you're getting told, hang on, you paid for all that, but your game's not being streamed today, so you pay another £15. It's just pricing people out. It's madness.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, no one has a problem with spending the money. It is quite literally all about finding the right fee and getting it to the right people.
Yeah, and another thing as well, this £15, I know the full fact that let's say for argument's sake, I paid £15 to watch. We'll use West Brom and Burnley. I know they'll have the worst two commentators on. It'll just be a nonsense. It'll just be nonsense. Another thing, if we were paying, I don't know if you look on the Sky website as much, but they use like data and really like smart articles on the Sky website talking about different stuff. They got exclusives, they got features. What if they're doing that on the website? Why do they still have Jamie Redknapp and Paul Merson on the punditry? It's like people want to listen to people know what they're talking about. And then the European window was shutting the other week, and they had deadline day. Who did he have talking about transfers of young prospects from Italy? Jim White, Harry Redknapp, and Jamie Redknapp. The three of them won't know any of these players. So I've just got a real big issue at the moment with this kind of narrative and this nonsense from the TV companies and the Premier League.
Yeah, and you've also got like, this is just a kind of a dig at punditry in general. I remember, well, every time we played a Premier League game that was on Sky or on BT, because, I don't know if it's the same for Everton, it might be, but for Watford, we're a small little club that shouldn't really be in the Premier League. And, that's pretty telling by the punditry. Every time we were on Sky playing against the bigger club, all the talk would be about the bigger club. Even if we're playing around a game against like Burnley, they still just talk about the big clubs. Something's happening for the big clubs,
yeah.
And it does my head in.
I'm pretty sure. I think it mightn't have been Watford, but I think it was a Burnley game. I think they were on a Monday night game once, and it might have been Watford, or it could have been Brighton or someone. And literally, they literally had, and I think there was a Liverpool Man City was the day before, and they had an hour before the game where they built up to it. 50 minutes was about that Liverpool Man City game the day before, and they had 5 minutes at the end talking about the team news. Literally, you couldn't write it. They did not want to talk about that game, even if they were streaming it.
They need to get on the pundits to do with the club. Like for example, they've Watford have recently had former players like Giffen Williams came on for the pre-match stuff against Reading. He knows the club because he used to play for us. That sort of thing. Someone that isn't going to be biased towards the bigger clubs.
Yeah, and another thing with that, every single time we're on the telly, they feel like they've got to talk about us a bit more than the likes of Watford and Bournemouth and that. A little bit more. They still hate us doing well, but they do talk about us a bit more. But every time we're on the telly, whether it's BBC, BT, Sky, I think them companies think the only player to ever play for us is Tim Cahill, because he's the only one who's ever run.
Yeah, same as people still think we're Troy Deeney FC.
Yeah, but I mean, every time we'll get Tim Cahill's thoughts on this, and if Tim Cahill's not available, they somehow think Jamie Carragher's an expert on Everton. It's like he played for Liverpool. All right, he's an Everton fan when he was younger, but don't be using Jamie Carragher as an expert on Everton. Just madness.
And that's another thing that I will go on to, and this is both commentary and punditry. I swear, every single time we're not doing well, the people doing the commentary or the punditry, they say, get Troy Deeney on, give him service, and he will do well. That hasn't been the case for about 4 years.
It's either that or they've sacked too many managers.
I swear, they take about 10 minutes every game to talk about managers. It is so annoying.
And they always have the same graphic of every manager and their win percentage of Watford.
No one cares.
It was every time you were on the telly. They have the same things they churn out about every club. With Everton, it was the amount of money we've spent in the past few years. You went, well, Everton are struggling under Marco Silva. Let's put a graphic up of how much they've spent in the last 3 years. That was the thing they did with us. Watford, there was the managers. Bournemouth was like, here's Eddie Howe's league position, so you've showed this for the past 3 weeks they've been on. They were just, and then when they get to the top six, they actually start analysing their teams. I mean, with some mad opinions even still, but they talk about it. And just a play, just someone get rid of Graham Souness, and there's madness. And there's did you see his comment about Eric Lamela? It's like, he said something.
I think so, yeah.
It was
a massive go at Eric Lamela. Did you see the what Patrice Evra said after the Man United game?
Say that again.
Did you see what Patrice Evra said after the Man United game?
Yeah, I didn't. I turned him off before the Liverpool game, but I got the gist of it. He was resigning, wasn't he?
Yeah, he said live on TV, "I'm going to resign from Sky" or something like that.
Fair enough. I don't know with him though if he's been set up to say these things just so to get more views, because they know he's a bit off the cuff. So if they think, all right, he'll say this, and then I don't know. At least he's entertaining. Graham Souness is just a miserable old man.
Yeah, I don't like him at all.
No,
he's just a bit annoying, to be honest.
He's just xenophobic and just racist.
Oh, very. The agenda against Paul Pogba is just hilarious now.
No, it's not even Paul Pogba. It's anyone who's got any kinds of. It's just, I don't know. He had this agenda when Moise Kean first came to Everton. He went, okay, he's probably been proved right in some ways, but he didn't know a thing about Moise Kean when he came in. All he saw was a black Italian footballer coming to Everton for big money. Went, I've got to question why they've let him go. The attitude mustn't be right there. You don't know a thing about this kid, and he's just said that. It's just, he doesn't. Yeah, I just really dislike him.
But that just links to the whole thing of if something happens to a club, get a pundit on that knows what they're talking about.
Yeah, like the Championship on Sky, they have some excellent pundits.
Mm.
I mean, it's not even the pundits they have the lads from that podcast, not the second tier one, which is rubbish. The like official one that go on Sky and that.
I think it's the not the 20 or something like that.
That's it, yeah, because I always see them, and you get them on to talk about the Championship, and I'm surprised they know what they're talking about, because they researching the experts in the Championship, and so they know everything about every team. And on top of that, because there's no big club bias, you have a pundit from each team as well. So I find the coverage for that so much more enjoyable than I would do Man United against Southampton, where they don't even give Southampton a second thought, and it's just all Man United. And if Man United get beat, it's why Man United have been bad, rather than, well, Southampton's been good.
Yeah, that's always been painful as well. It's always pretty much always favours the big club, no matter what.
Yeah, so I think we put the world to rights about how we hate everything about the Premier League TV broadcasting.
Yeah, these are the few benefits of being relegated.
Move on to say that again.
These are the few benefits of being relegated.
Yeah, honestly, if we were getting relegated, I would look and think at least we would have people on talking about us and the other team and the whole league who know what they're on about. Okay, I did watch a couple of the playoffs games, and the pundits, they're quite cliched, so they'll say the same 5 things twice, but they know what they're talking about at least, and I mean, there isn't any bias, and it's pretty enjoyable to watch the Championship. I watched Wickham v Swansea, and you know what? You knew everything about Wickham, and you knew everything about Swansea, so fair play. It just went, and the website's pretty good as well. If you spend time looking at the website, you look at data and patterns and all that, I think you get people who know what they're talking about. They're very data based. And then you just put the same old pundits up who don't even know what data is. They think data is how many goals they've scored or something. It's just madness. But we'll move on to the Premier League so far then. So well, what are your early impressions? I'm absolutely over the moon.
I'm just shocked at the amount of goals that are going in.
Yeah, I mean, apart from that, I mean, but that's always the worrying thing. That even when we were 4-1 up last week, I'm thinking the amount of goals that are going in, it could easily be 5-4, but luckily it wasn't, because I think we kind of we'll work out we're the form team, aren't we? So
yeah, I mean, I tweeted after the Liverpool Villa game about how Watford and Bournemouth have both gone down after just having terrible defences for the last 5 years, and it seems to have passed on to everyone else.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like everyone else has took the Watford mantle up and not bought a defender for 5 years or something. That's how it looks.
It's really odd. I don't know if I don't know how many goals scored in the last weekend, but there was that stat that a couple of weeks ago that there was the most goals ever in one Premier League match day.
I remember, and you probably won't remember this because Watford weren't up at this point, but 2010, 2011, we beat Blackpool 5-3. And in that weekend, there was loads of goals. Newcastle and Arsenal were 4-4. I think Stoke beat Sunderland 4-3. And there was just loads of goals flying in all over the place. And that was mad at that point. And that was a one-off. But this seems like every week there's loads and loads of goals. And I don't know. I think it's pretty... I don't know. If it's not your team watching it, I suppose it's quite fun. But
That's very entertaining for me.
I know, but when I'm Everton, I just want to bore and 1-0 and get it done. But I mean, we had the one against Tottenham and Palace away. It was quite, I don't know, rigid. But our 2 home games have been raining goals, 5-2 and 4-2.
I'm intrigued to see how long this lasts for. If it's just going to go back to normal, or if goals just fly in for the rest of the season.
If you remember post-lockdown when we came back, there wasn't many goals going in then, was there?
Yeah, not really. I mean, I mainly remember Villa kind of sorting out their defence, and that's kind of a sign that it sorted itself out. But now it's completely the opposite.
Yeah, and I remember the Everton games. There were always like 1-1s, 1-0s. Apart from Wolves battering us 3-0, it could have been 10. But apart from that, they were always like close games. I even remember like West Ham and like Burnley. They were always like 1-0 games. There was loads of them. And Newcastle, I mean, they never scored any goals anyway. But they even every time Newcastle hit the target, they score. Just mad. I mean that is Steve Bruce's XG beating Mags. They don't need XG, they beat XG. Absolutely madness what's going on there. I mean, it feels like I'm talking on Newcastle a minute back. They are. They could be the luckiest team of all time.
Oh, they so are. I swear, every time I see an attacking stat, they're always bottom 3.
They're always bottom 4. They're just madness.
Yeah.
I mean, they are so lucky. I mean, they have so many goals. Tottenham had 13 shots on target against them, and they drew 1-1 with a penalty that shouldn't have been a penalty. And just that was their first shot on target that game. But I think last week against Burnley, they played pretty well against Burnley. But yeah, I mean, another thing that's really annoyed me part of these first 3 weeks of the season is somehow after the previous like 4 or 5 seasons of Burnley playing 300 pass football and not always winning, to be fair, getting beat quite a bit, but they definitely got points to it. Now the last 3 weeks he's been playing 450 pass football, which is just mind-boggling. I mean, we're not used to this, and I wanted to start against West Brom where they went 2-1 with 4 passes. But yeah, anything else about the Premier League? Man City, I don't think they've been doing too well.
You say that though, but I remember reading after the loss to Leicester about when people were saying how Liverpool going to smash the league again and all that stuff. But Liverpool scored whacked 7-1 at Villa, and I'm very curious to see how they react from this, because it's not like when we beat them last season 3-0, and they already had the league wrapped up pretty much. I mean, this is early on in the season. They just got destroyed by a relegation by a likely to be a relegation threatened team. And this could be quite detrimental to their mentality now, and I'm intrigued to see how they react.
So what you're basically saying is Everton are going to win the lot.
Yeah, I don't think that's what I'm saying.
But that's what I'm saying anyway. I'm saying Everton are going to win the lot. What have you made of Everton?
No, I've been impressed. I didn't think they'd be this good, but I did think they'd have a good season. I've said right from the start, the core would be a vital signing if you got him back to his best. Pair him with Allen, and I thought that'd be a good midfield. I wouldn't say I'm surprised that James Rodriguez has started like he has, but he's obviously been very good. For me, probably the signing of the season so far, and apparently for 3 as well. That's outstanding.
Yeah. I think when we did the predictions podcast, I think we hadn't signed anyone. I was pretty downbeat with the whole situation because I didn't think we'd be able to bring anyone in or anyone major anyway. I thought we might do a few loans and free transfers, which was what I was getting told by people. And wow, we've completely pushed the boat out. We bought Alan, who's been fantastic. I think he's back for Liverpool, which is a big boost. He wins so many battles in midfield, and he's my perfect player. I think he's brilliant. Decore, who I think I was a bit sceptical on Decore when we were being linked to him because I looked at him at Watford and thought, while he's got energy, I didn't think he had any technical ability, but he's really good on the ball as well. He moves the ball really well, and how many last-ditch tackles he makes from corners is he saved us so many goals from doing that.
I'm delighted he's back to his best, I'll be honest, because Nigel Pearson pretty much took all his technical ability away by playing him as a 10.
Yeah, he's not a 10.
He's not a 10, definitely not.
I mean, I could say that I've only watched him 4 games. I can definitely tell you he's not a number 10. He's an 8. He's somewhere in between them. He's been really good. Hammers. I was even more sceptical about Hammers, and the reason why I was sceptical about Hammers is because I thought he's going to be on huge wages, which is not an issue with, but I think that his fitness, and I didn't think he'd be able to do full 90 minutes, and he would barely play, but he's been so fit for the previous 4 games in terms of how he's just come in, and he's set the tempo of the team, and he's got goals, assists. He's by far our best technical player. I think you won't know this because you're a Watford fan, but Man City and Liverpool fans, they're used to this type of player, watching him all the time, because he's unbelievable. He sees things before everyone else, and he's brilliant. I mean, and then on deadline day, we bought in Ben Godfrey, who I'm a fan of that signing. The more I think of it, that we're going to develop a centre half, and hopefully he might look very decent, not playing in the suicidal Daniel Farker high line, which no one could possibly, have any success in, because it's just impossible to defend that way.
Yeah, I like Ben Godfrey. I'd say he was probably Norwich's best defender last season. That doesn't say too much, I know, but I do think he's a good signing for Everton because, like you say, he's not going to be in a Daniel Fark team. He's going to be under Carlo Ancelotti. Yeah. That is some upgrade, and I think you can see what he's offering glimpses, and you can see how you'll be able to see how he'll develop under Ancelotti.
I mean, are we talking Silva to Gracia levels upgrades here? Because I think we might be, because
tell you what, I think that's a good comparison in terms of what a solid defensive manager can offer, because I think we hadn't kept a clean sheet for like 3-4 months under Silva. Our first game under Gracia, we drew 0-0 with Stoke. Second game, we beat Chelsea 4-1.
Yeah, I think Javi, when he went to Watford, did very similar things to. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna say he's done quite similar to what Carlo's done at Everton in terms of the pattern so far. I think when Javi first went into Watford, he improved his on Silva, but it weren't quite clicking because I think he didn't get all what he wanted in.
Yeah, we didn't. I think we only signed Delafeu that window. We might sign some youngster as well, but the only real big signing was Delafeu. We didn't sign anyone else. We had to play 4-2-3 well. Our strikers weren't performing. These were all reasons why people weren't a big fan of Javi towards the end of the season. I remember I was one of the few people that was backing him.
Yeah,
and you also what turned out in this first full season of the club.
Yeah, he cup final and challenge for Europe, and you were in the conversation anyway. And I think that for Watford's a very successful season, really, in comparison to what you had before and after that. I think with Carlo, it's been something really similar. He came in, had an impact before lockdown, and I think after lockdown it got a bit, I don't know, we'd lost a bit of a pattern of play, but unlike Javi, I think everyone was still behind Carlo because of the fact that he was miles better than anything we've had for about 25, 30 years, and the fact that we weren't ever going to get any better with anyone else, and we hadn't bought anyone. So now we've bought the players, and we've gone up 3 levels, I would say, just by getting incompetent players who knows his system and with energy like the Corey. And now we bought Robin Olsen as well, which, I mean, I don't think he's a great goalie, but he just might be a great trainer, someone good in training who pushes fixtures. That's where I'm open anyway.
I mean, I don't know much about Robin Olsen, but I do know we've been linked with him in the past and we turned him down because he wasn't good enough. So we shall see how that turns out.
We shall. I think at the moment he's back up. I think I'm fine with that. And I just want him to push Pickford. I mean, one thing I will say about Olsen, though, which I could never say about Lossell or Stecklenberg, is that Olsen at least has some presence to push Pickford. So if Pickford has a bad game, you could see Olsen coming in, and I don't know how he would do, but you feel like he'd be more competent than Stecklenberg at the age of 94. So I think that overall, I think Olsen, it doesn't work. He's only alone anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I think that's probably the only criticism you could have of Everton's window, because while it was outstanding, they did everything they had to do. I would argue that maybe they should have looked harder to bring in a keeper, because I don't rate Pickford whatsoever.
No,
but overall, there's no denying how good the window's been, and they did do everything they needed to do pretty much.
Yeah, and I think there's still some sort of like murmurings about Josh King, which, I mean, if we could get that done, that's been unbelievable. But we'll see about that. If we've done what we've done, I think a fantastic window. I think what people forget as well, and I've just forgot, is we bought in Nielsen Concu this window, who's been unbelievable.
Yeah, I've heard very good things about this guy.
Yeah, every time honest to God, he's literally unbelievable. I mean, if we didn't have Luca Dean, he would start Premier League games for us because he's been that good. But only because Luca Dean's that good that Nkunku can't really force his way in at the moment, I think. If Nkunku was a right back, he would start. Nothing against James, he's been brilliant as well, but I think we're looking more towards the future now, and I think Nkunku's certainly better than John Joe Kenny as a right back.
Yeah.
Nkunku as a left back much better than Kenny. So I think we'll see how we go. I think against Salford and Fleetwood, it was very attacking. He was getting down the line, getting crosses in, cutting in, playing the box. I think against West Ham, he was a bit more pragmatic in the way that he sat back a bit more. He won tackles and they broke. I think Dean and Nkunku is an unbelievable kind of choice to have as your left back. So we bought him in, and then in January, I think the other business we've done under Carlo is Gareth Branthwaite, who again was really good when he came in after lockdown. He's probably one of our sort of bright spots when we came back, and I think obviously we had injuries and he stepped in and he did really well. But another thing as well, he got injured against the Salford his first game, so he got an injury. Otherwise, I think we might have loaned him to a championship club because we bought Ben Godfrey in. Either way, I think he'll recover. I think he might go on loan in January. But all the business we've done so far since January has been pretty good. And for the people who were brands out and all this kind of madness, they've been proven wrong that if you put brands next to it, not just a competent but a very, very good coach, it works very well. I think when he was working with Silva, he was getting players in who Silva would never play into the strengths of. Now, okay, they mostly haven't even worked out so far anyway, but I think the level up from Silva to Ancelotti is staggering, and you can tell that in the way we're doing recruitment as well. So overall, really positive about Everton. Have you got anything else to add about the Premier League?
My kind of team to watch, and I know I'm pushing out again. Brighton annoy me because I think they're playing quite well, but their strikers just get on my nerves.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest, they were poor against us. Did you watch it, Brighton v Everton?
No.
No, I'm going to be honest, they didn't have a shot in 40 minutes until Pickford threw one in his net. So they were pretty poor against us, but we were very good. So I can't really take much else of that. I didn't watch their game against Newcastle, which they won because I was out. They probably played very well, but they won 3-0. So
yeah, they did play well in that one.
And then I did watch. I've watched so many Brighton games this season. It's more than I watched the whole of last year. The Chelsea game and the Man United game. And I thought against Chelsea, they were a bit passive, and I thought they gave the game to Chelsea. I thought they could have won that game, but they made so many mistakes. It was doing my head in, just from literally playing out from the back. Not playing out from the back bad. I just think that they were making mistakes which gave Chelsea a leg up in the game. But they were creating chances. And then the Man United game, I must admit, they were very, very good. But somehow they managed to throw that away. I mean, you must, as a Brighton fan, if you're a Brighton fan, you must hate life at the moment watching that, because they create so many chances. I mean, he didn't against us, but in the other games, they created so many chances and just haven't been able to break the team down.
Yeah, they remind me a bit of us early on under Javi in terms of they create so many good chances, but they're just not taking any of them. They hit the post about 50 times against Man United. And what I would say is I like Neil Maupay, but they're basically relying on him at the moment. I don't know if they signed any other striker, if they're close to it.
No, they've got that other bloody Busarin Connolly who just kicks people and dives all over the place. Oh, I can't stand him.
But yeah, that's it. I think they signed that Kosovan guy Zakiri, but I'm afraid he's going to play with the under-23s at first. The problem is they're pretty much relying on Neil Maupay. They're also playing Solly March as a left wing back, so that kind of that takes some brownie points away from Potter.
Yeah, I spoke to Luke Elkins on Twitter yesterday, and he did that thing about who sums up his ideologies, and I put, why isn't Graham Potter here? He went, he can't be here until he stops playing Solly March.
Yeah, those are pretty much the only positions that I think where I need to improve to kind of consolidate themselves a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of Ben White. I think he's very good.
Yeah, I like that. I think they've got good defenders generally. I'm a massive fan of Tariq Lamptey.
Yeah, I mean, I was a big fan of him until he left that naughty tackling on Richarlison. I mean, I'm no longer a fan of him, but he is a good player. I thought he was probably Brighton's most sort of like prominent player against us, and then he took him off for Joel Veltman. Mad. I mean, I think that might have been because he was just like tackling everyone, and then he was like, maybe that was no, he's a player. He's someone who happens to
You still there?
You there?
You there?
Aaron?
Okay,
You?
your audio cut out.
Yeah, no. You'll have to edit that bit out. I'm going to move on now anyway, so it's pretty simple.
Yeah.
Right. I'll wait until I can see your face again because of... Right. Alright, so I can see my face now. I can't quite see yours. Can
I
you
can't
see
see
my
yours
face?
either. No.
Okay.
Oh, there you
You'll
go.
have to wait. I can see you now, but I can't see me. Can
No,
you
your
see
face
me?
is gone again.
My face is gone. I can see you.
I can't see
Yeah.
you. Oh, no, I
Right.
can see you.
Right. Now we'll try and move on seamlessly. Okay. We were talking about Brighton. I was going to talk about Burnley for the agendas and that.
Of course.
Right. Well, you brought Brighton up. I was going to leave it there. We'll talk about Burnley. Right. So edit from me. Okay. Let me. Okay. Right. 1, 2. Yeah. I mean, yeah. So as we're on the agendas, and obviously Brighton. I mean, 1 win and 4. But ultimately, you've got to win the agenda awards of 2021 so far because the Clarets have lost 3 out of 3 and I'm having a nightmare so far. I mean, I will sort of temper it with Burnley, but absolutely no one. And I think they've been pretty poor, to be honest, in all the games. What have you thought of Burnley?
They just need to spend a bit of money, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, just Shunda actually done miracles for that club, and I think they're just worried about going down and losing it all, which is it's a fine mentality, but it's to the extent they're doing it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You can spend money without overspending, pretty much. And
Yeah.
they're underspending.
I think I was listening to the guy we had on the podcast the other week's podcast, Joe, his Turfcast podcast, that he doesn't want Burnley to spend 50 million quid in the window. If he Burnley bought 3-5 million pound players and spent 15 million just to fill the squad out and give Dyche more options, he'd be fine with that because it would be about squad building. That's what Burnley have done historically anyway. To bring only Dale Stevens in, who in time will probably be okay for Burnley because he'll fit in and he'll know he's played for Chris Hughton, hasn't he? So he'll know how to play. Oh, I don't think we're ending this podcast without talking about Chris Hughton's rival, Nottingham Forest. That's in a minute. But yeah, I think if Chris Wood and Ashley Barnes and Jay Rodriguez continue to score goals, they'll be fine. And if they get Ben Mee back, they'll be fine. I just think they needed that international break to clean slate, go there again. Next time we talk, I want improvements on the pitch from them, and I really, really want, for the love of God, Dyche to play Brownhill as a centre midfielder, not as a right midfielder. Play pieces there for all. Play Brownhill through the middle. But that's that. What we really do need to talk about, though, is Chris Hughton's arrival at Forest. Wow. What an appointment. I mean, we've had to... It is a wonder at what cost, because Sabri's had to go, but Chris Hughton's back and the agenda starts here.
Yeah, I think this is probably finally a good appointment for Nottingham Forest. If they don't go up on a Chris Hughton, I don't know who's taking them up, because his record speaks for itself.
No one's taking them up.
Yeah. What I would say, though, is if they go up this season, then the record of going to a different manager for the last 10 or so seasons, that'll continue next season if they go up.
Yeah. Even at Brighton, Hughton took a few years to get them up, and I think not that it worked well for them.
It wasn't even that much. It was, and Nottingham Forest, I think, are kind of similar in that. I think Brighton finished, I think, 6th the year before.
Yeah,
and Oscar Garcia, I think it was. No, I'm pretty sure it was Oscar Garcia.
Okay.
Then they brought in Sammy Hippier. They finished like 20th that season. They brought in Chris Hughton like December. They finished 20th, and I'm pretty sure it was the year after that they achieved promotion.
Yeah.
I think this is kind of similar. I know it's only October. It's a bit earlier than Brighton appointed Chris Hughton, but I think it'll probably take a while. But you know they should now have a platform to build on to finally achieve promotion.
He'll have a plan. When he goes, I think he's only ever been given one Premier League job in terms of giving it to him. That was Norwich, and he finished 10th in his first season, I think, in Norwich, which I don't think Norwich have done since. He went down the next season. Happened, but every other club he's been to, he's took them over in the Championship. So he's got a remit now of taking that club with the squad they've got. He'll have to it, because I think he'll be giving some money at Forest. I mean, January next summer. And then you'll start seeing incremental progress to the point you'll start off at the back. You'll get. I know Lamucci, but he weren't really organised. I think teams were just scoring against him for fun in the end. It was like when we had Ronald Koeman. He was supposed to be a European pragmatist, and we just couldn't stop him seeing the goal by the end. But I think Chris Hughton will start off at the back, and then he'll go from there. I think I'm really excited to see what he does. I think he'll probably play with a bit more tempo than he did with Lamucci. I'm glad Hughton's back in the game. I think I knew something had happened, because when I hadn't posted anything on Twitter, and then I went on Twitter and I saw my notifications, and I had like 10 notifications from different people, and I thought, what's going on here? And I thought, oh yeah, Chris Hughton's back.
Yeah, I was convinced it would have been Nigel Pearson or Chris Hughton going to Forest. I tweeted that a while ago.
I think Hughton's a bit better.
Oh no, I'm not denying that. I just think you said last season when he got sacked that Nigel Pearson's stock had kind of increased, and
yes.
I thought Forest was. I knew it would be one of them. I knew one of them was nailed on for the Forest job, and I'm not an advocate for just going for kind of the solid, proven Championship managers, but if you do get them in, then it should work, and you should have enough to eventually go up with that person.
Yeah, look at a couple of clubs. Birmingham this season, Vitor Karanka. He's a solid, proven Championship manager, and they've improved massively on last season with Pep Rote, who did all right keeping them up, but he's not as good as Karanka, who's dull as dishwater, but he gets the job done. And look at Millwall with Gary Rowett. He's gone into Millwall, and although I'm also a fan of Neil Harris, who's gone into Cardiff. I think it's taken a bit of time because he didn't really back him that much with poor signings like Shea Ojo, whatever. Keep him always a good signing, but I think them three, I think they'll look to go to the third tier because they've got in good Championship managers. Middlesbrough as well. I think Warnock got his first win this season last week, so it's all about growing. And I think, have you changed your mind of who you think might come up?
I haven't really.
No, I
I mean,
haven't.
I think I've thought about it, but I think it's too early to change. I had Watford winning the league, and I'm still saying that, but I can't say that for sure as much now because we've started a bit slowly. So I think it'll take a bit more time to kind of work out who for sure is going to be out there.
Yeah, I think Redden have been up there, but according to them, they've done a Newcastle and have defied XG to an extreme extent.
Yeah, we played them last week. I wasn't impressed. I'll be honest. I mean, I thought we battered them in terms of getting into goal scoring positions. We just couldn't take our chances. They scored a goal just for our time against the run of play with a lucky deflection, and then just defended for the entire second half.
Yeah.
So it was fair play to them. They did what they had to do, but I've heard that isn't the first time this season. So they won 4-4 to be fair. But I think it's kind of similar to Charlton last season. They started the season on fire. And they fell off and they were relegated. I don't think Reading will be relegated, but I do expect them to fall off.
Yeah, I think Bristol City have started well, but they always had a better team than Lee Johnson. So it was Lee Johnson. It turns out after all, because they've started off quite well.
I wouldn't even say that because last season Bristol City started off quite well.
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
and they've got in I can't remember his name. Holden, I think it is.
Ian Holden.
Yeah, and he's I think he was part of Johnson's backroom staff. So for all we know, it could be the exact same thing going on.
Yeah, it could. I think, and then take them two because I expect them to fall off. I had them lower mid-table. I'm not changing it. But the two teams I've been impressed with is, I think I'm going to say this for the first time in history. I've been impressed with Bournemouth.
I thought I was coming. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Jason Tyndall proved that if you give that team a bit of structure, there's quality in it, especially in the Championship to do well. I think his defenders a bit more deeper this season, which why didn't he tell Eddie Howe to do that for the past 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to stick with my with what I said. I'm going to stick with what I said in the summer because, like I said, it's too early.
Yeah.
Bournemouth obviously have one of the most talented squads in the league. I said that Bournemouth would finish outside the playoffs because I thought they'd lack consistency. Now that could very well still happen because it's still early days. But like you say, they look quite good in what I've seen. But what I would say is I've also read tweets that apparently their performances haven't been that good. They're just they're grinding out results.
Yeah.
So we'll see how they progress this season and see if they'll be up there.
Yeah. Another team I've been impressed with, Blackburn. I think that the consistency factor with Tony Mowbray, and I think the team didn't buy anyone. It was kind of business as usual. So I expect them to drop off because that kind of quality isn't there. But I think it's still, for me, I still think Watford will go up. I still think there's too much quality in that team. I think Capu's staying, isn't he?
Yeah, he's rescinded his transfer request, and Will Hughes has also said he's going to stay.
Yeah, well, they're two massive additions, not in terms. They're like new signings.
They are definitely like new signings.
Yeah, but they'll have a big impact, and they stay and play. Watford will win the league. And then the second and third, I'm still saying Cardiff, if over the course of a 46-game season, they'll be up there. I still think Kiefer Moore will score goals, and then they'll stop conceding goals because Neil Harris will realise that he can't evolve the style and go up. So I think they'll get it sorted, but I'm still now edging more towards Millwall joining Watford. I don't think they've had an amazing start, but I just look at them and think that there's some talent in that team. And Jake Cooper, and the keeper who got name forgot. It's just Jed Wallace, Matt Smith. I think there's a real unit there, and I think if they will be like when all these teams who are quite pragmatic come up, they will be like that. You'll be written off, but I expect them to be up there. And so that concludes the chat for this week then on the podcast. No one wanted to join us, but we've had a good time anyway, haven't we?
Yeah, it's been good fun without anyone.
Yeah, I mean, I will put it out at the end. People are welcome to join us, and if you want to come on the podcast, just get in touch and we'll see. But we've had a good chat on our own about absolutely everything we wanted to talk about. It's the international break, and we haven't talked about international football, and that's brilliant.
Good. I don't like international football.
Oh, well, we will finish that England game the other night. I started watching some of it because Calvert-Lewin was playing. I must have switched her off after 40 minutes. The most dull game of football I've ever seen.
I just turned it off and started playing my guitar. I couldn't be asked to watch that.
I wish I'd have bloody played guitar myself because it was more entertaining than that. Jesus. And then I did the only other thing I watched was the Northern Ireland penalty shootout. Absolute scenes. Well done, Northern Ireland. And Bailey Peacock Farrell, brilliant keeper. But yeah, that's about as much international football as I've watched. So if we were to talk about international football, we'd be lying because I don't think either of us have watched more than about 30 minutes of it.
I watched the England game in glimpses and that's it.
Yeah, well, I didn't even watch glimpses. I watched about half an hour and then turned it off. Awful. And Wales as well, they weren't much either. But anyway, I will not be watching any more international football until some sort of tournament comes around. And I don't know when that next summer, isn't it? The Euro. That'll be the next I'll watch because awful. But that's just about it. So follow us both on Twitter. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. I mean, we're trying to get the numbers up on there, but yeah, subscribe, and then we'll see you next week, where hopefully someone will want to join us. We can't promise anything, but if not, we'll both be here talking, probably previewing next week's games and that. So we'll see you later.